Hey, and thanks for clicking play. Can we get these keyboards to play? So, quick recap of where we are. This is cheap port. Not important. On the keyboard that's in the Amiga at the moment, the control key doesn't work after I munted the original membrane. Munted the original membrane by trying to fix an issue and making it worse by cutting that too short. Another episode's on that. And the membrane that's in there, which was a kind replacement from Godfrey, all that isn't working is the control key, as mentioned before. And when you look at this membrane, what that means is the only possible explanation for that, it can't be anything to do with this ribbon, because when you go over to where the control key is, that trace controls several keys, so those would all be dead if it was that trace. The only possible one is this trace here that goes all the way up, blah, 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 all the way across, rare, 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 and it's basically this end one here on that ribbon, on the right-hand side ribbon. So it's quite possible that it's just not sitting in properly, but because I seem to have a habit of making a small problem massive, I haven't had the guts to open her up again and just try and sort that out. That brings us to where we are now, because Vance kindly gave me this replacement keyboard. Vance for the Perth Amiga users group, and I wasn't expecting it to be a Samsung dual membrane. I actually thought it was going to be a Mitsumi, assumed, because they're the more common. So I was readying myself for knowing that I was getting a yellow keyboard, but potentially if I needed to, I could buy new keycaps that would fit, because these aren't interchangeable. So I could buy new keycaps for this one that would fit if it was a Mitsumi. I could even buy a whole new membrane if I needed, and if the PCB ever dies, they're quite easy to get hold of because the Mitsumi ones were more popular. When he turned up with the Samsung one, I was over the moon because I thought, well, apparently this works. So in theory, here's the plan. Because what's the other thing that doesn't work on this? Well, occasionally I get a caps lock blink, single blink, which means the chip has come up with an error on the keyboard PCB. The chip never overheats. I've tested that, so it could be one of the capacitors on the board is a potential problem. The only other problem is I lost the spring. I lost one spring, and so the spring for this key is actually a pen spring, so that's harder to push than every other key. So I put it in here because I thought I don't often use that. So there's three things at play. So what I could potentially do, I've never liked ribbon connectors. I never have. Here's my plan. First off, I'm going to plug this in and see if it works. I'm going to use my key test program that I've got. And if this whole keyboard works 100%, fantastic, okay? Now, to avoid creating the same problem on this keyboard by poorly putting one of these ribbons in, my plan is to simply, carefully undo the back, okay? So I can undo the whole back, lift it off, and that will bring with it chassis, PCB, and the membrane that's sitting inside this. I can then, in theory, I'll do the same on the one that's in the Amiga, I can then, in theory, attach that whole chassis, PCB and membrane complete against this keycap set with this bit of the chassis. And then what have I got? What I've got, in theory, is a 100% working keyboard mechanism with this on top. Fantastic, okay? What I might also do is, once I've opened her up, once I'm happy that as a spare keyboard, this one works 100%, well, now I've got the courage to, on this original, have a mess about with that, with this ribbon before I even pull anything else apart and see if I can get it working 100%. Just be an interesting thing to do. At the end of the day, though, knowing that I've clearly got an issue here somewhere, I think I might as well just go ahead and go with the swap. If this is a more reliable keyboard, So I've got several tests to do here really, because I also want an endurance test on this keyboard to see if the caps lock like error comes up on this one, because it may not be anything to do with that after all. So several things to test. Let's get into it. Okay, so case is off, didn't bore you with that. Great news is I didn't even have to mess about with the RF shielding this time, so that's fantastic. Let's unplug this, remove this. Where am I going to put that? Down there. Oh, it's so clean. It's so white and so not yellowed. And this is going to be interesting. I'm going to put this on. And if you remember, my initial issue of this not working only happened when I had the case on. So I need to put the case on. So I think the sensible thing to do here is not actually rush this. As a proper keyboard test, you know why I've paused? That is the right way around. That is the right way around. Black goes on the left. Okay. That's why I suddenly paused. Oh, that's interesting. Look at that. So that is black. And the one on my one is white. Little things. Little things. Obviously, the other issue, the one thing I have with mine is I have a pound key. Whereas this is an Australian keyboard. So another reason to keep the keycaps for, obviously, being a Batman pack. That's what I want it to be. The UK. Not because I'm from there. Yeah, so the issue of the numeric keypad dying on the old one, which is why I went into replacing the membrane, was when the case was leaning on this right-hand side ribbon. So I do need to test this with the case on. So there we go. So I'm going to put the case on. In fact, we'll do that now. But I'm not going to screw it in, obviously, because it doesn't really make any difference. And I think what I'm going to do is give this an endurance test. Oh, look at the colour of those keys. Oh, look at the colour of those keys against this white case. Okay, so what we've got. Replacement keyboard is in. Nice little touch. This is a red power LED, same as on my other keyboard. So that's great. And I'm running key test on the screen there. So I'll zoom you in. And let's see if every single key lights up. First and foremost, the one that wasn't working for me is control. Control is working absolutely fine. The problem that started all this was the numeric keypad. Let's go across the top. That would still work, but then these wouldn't. And that is all working fine. Right, let's quickly run across. Fantastic. Where am I? Here. Nope, those ones as well. Notice my quick method. Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, control. There we go. Yeah, so that's the caps lock. Oh, what was that one? Oh, that was caps lock again, done the same way. Shift as well. Oh, okay, Amiga left. Yeah, that's good. And arrow keys, shift and enter. There we go. Everything lights up, and I currently don't have a flashing caps lock light. So generally that would sort of occur when the machine has been sitting there for about 10 minutes, and then I do either a soft reset or definitely a hard reset. So I'm going to leave the machine on, I don't know, for about half an hour, just sitting here burning this into my screen, and then we'll see. Just to explain the other thing that I was talking about. So on this is where I think it could just be on this one that just isn't sitting in properly. So now that I know I have a 100% working keyboard, well, you know, I've got the courage to have a bit of a play. So I might do that as well, just as an aside. So yeah, just looking at this, look, I think, this is my theory. I've pulled this out and you can see, you should be able to see, there's sort of some of the missing trace on the end there. Now, of course, where this whole problem started was I had a similar problem and started cutting stuff back. See that end one? See how it's sort of silvered? So I think the fix for this particular membrane is just a touch of conductive paint. Now I don't have any of that, so I'm not going to play. I'm going to go ahead with my plan to swap both of these completely out, to keep the keycaps onto this, because then that eliminates any possibility of my PCB being to blame for that mysterious caps lock light error. I think that's the safest thing. So there we go. I've just shoved that back in there. I'm gonna quickly test that after this endurance test, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, but I'm gonna swap them over anyway. Okay, well, I'm out of port, so it's got to have at least been about half an hour. So let's focus in on that caps lock light here, and I'm going to eject the test disc because we don't actually need this. And during the Perth Amiga users group meet, this did prove itself to be an issue. I'm going to do a soft reset first. It's been about half an hour. Soft reset. Let's see if it comes back. The caps lock light flashing issue. Because at the end of the day, this could be a caps in the... So it hasn't come back after a soft reset. It could be down to a caps in the power supply. I'm going to do a hard reset now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's what I'd usually give it. Okay, so no caps lock. I'm gonna leave it on for another half an hour. Okay, so it's been, I don't know how long, probably about an hour or more. I've cooked dinner and eaten dinner. And I have come in here a couple of times just to do a soft reset, then a couple of hard resets. And it's generally the hard reset that will trigger this error. So this is gonna be the last test I do. Be interesting to see if it comes back before we actually pull both keyboards apart. So let's have a look. No error. So I'm happy. This keyboard is a well-behaving keyboard. That's absolutely fantastic. So what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to... I've replugged in that other membrane, that other keyboard on my old one. So I'm just going to see what that does under the key test program, and then we'll take both apart and swap over the innards. So there we go. Okay, so interestingly, I just had this is the original keyboard back in after I replugged that right-hand side membrane back in. And I just had a couple of boot errors, and I had to sort of wiggle around my power supply to get it to boot properly. So yeah, I think I'm on borrowed time with that power supply, in all honesty. This is working enough for me to type key test, so that's fine. No, control still isn't working. Oh, there we go. Everything else is working, but control consistently not working. Consistently not working on the original. So yeah, look, that's it. So we swapped them. Okay, so on the original keyboard, taking the back off. Springs are underneath, so be very careful. Okay, so that's that keyboard, that troublesome membrane, and that possibly troublesome PCB. That's all there. And what I'm going to have to do now is just make sure I take out. So this is the numeric keypad, because obviously we're upside down at the moment. This is the pen spring. There we go. That's the pen spring that I was using for the delete key, because obviously I'll be able to put one in from the replacement keyboard, so that fixes that problem. Must remember to do that. No springs lost this time. No, good. Okay, I'm going to open up the other keyboard on a separate table, and we'll go from there. Okay, so here we are on the other table. Other table as well. Video pack currently 6 next to a TV. So we have to now carefully pull this one apart. So this is the replacement keyboard That's what we're pulling apart here. Excuse the cable. Okay, so that is all in one piece. Haven't had to unplug those. Haven't had to undo anything. I'm not even going to clean this. I'm not going to tempt fate. That's going to go swapped straight over. And I'm going to quickly pinch. Which one was it? Well, it doesn't matter which spring, to be honest. Hang on, I'll check. Hang on. So I'm going to pinch this spring. And I'm going to straight away put that over onto the other one. So let's go over there now. So on this, so this is the good keycaps. There's the replacement spring. I'm going to put that pin spring back in the other one. So that's what I'm going to do there. And now, might as well do this while we're here. The plan now is we need to carefully replace that other chassis onto this. Said I wasn't going to rush this, didn't I? But clearly I lied. Right, so we're replacing this is the good chassis. And we know it's the good chassis because handily it's got the black plug. So there we go. So these haven't had to be unplugged. In fact, look, I've even got the original protector here for that. So this, literally, and the good thing is, because I haven't had to remove this membrane, it's still stuck. These are actually stuck with a couple of sticky dots to the chassis. So this just literally needs to be carefully placed on top of those keys without disrupting any of the springs. Lining up that hole. I'm going by a hole in the corner here. Oh. Any springs out of place? Everything's still got a spring. It's bad practice to do this on the Amiga, I must say. Oh, I must just check, because another thing I'm not happy with is this spring for the space. Look at this. This is kind of discolored. I'm just going to check the other one. So bear with me. Yeah, look, interestingly, this one from the other keyboard is in better condition. It was weird on that other one. It's only the one. Only on this one, sorry. It's only the one. So I'm going to swap that. Why not? We know it works. So I'm going to swap that as well. Okay. Now, which bloody chassis is it? Yeah, it's this one. I've got two chassis here. Okay. So, without disturbing any springs, we place that on there. Damn it. It's so hard to line up both sides. I'm concentrating on one side, not the other. You can hear the springs underneath. Ooh, ooh. Gonna lift that up. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pick that up and make sure all the springs are in place. Because when it's leaning down, the keys are pushed up. Don't drop this, Chris, because you're gonna have a nightmare. Put that back down. Okay, then we're good to go. That's all in line. I'm good to go screwing this back together. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so that's done. So this is the replacement chassis with all the springs, hopefully. Funny story that. Onto the original keycaps is in theory what we've got here. So that's the replacement chassis onto the original keycaps. Into here, put that in place. I'm hoping all the springs are there, and I'll tell you a story about springs in a minute. That's in place. It's definitely in. and it's the right way round. So let's see if she boots. First and foremost, seems to have booted. Yep, good. These springs are a thing of legend. Like, I pulled both these off as careful as the other, you know. So this is the replacement keycaps, the yellowed keycaps. And amusingly, don't know if you can see there, a spring has magically gone missing. And this is the legend. It doesn't matter what you do. It's magical. If you're pulling apart one of these keys, you will lose a spring. If you're pulling apart an Amiga keyboard, you will lose a spring. So now, before I put this back together, so I've got my pen spring here. That's there. And I've got my slightly discoloured spacebar spring in the spacebar of this one as well. But magically, and I've no idea, this keyboard was fully working. So I'll find that and then I'll put this together. So I just want to make sure I keep everything that was originally from this same Batman pack, just so that I still have all the original parts. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is I now have a properly working Amiga 500. Right, here we go, final shot. Amiga is back together, screen is on. I'll zoom in after I've gone through the key test. Case is on properly, seems all right. Discs are coming fully out, so everything's lined up. Okay, let's go through it. Caps lock, working. The key that wasn't working before, control, working. Numeric keypad that was the start of all this, fully working. And notice these are the original keycaps. Top row, next row, delete and help, next row, return, next row. Oh, that means I'm hitting caps lock again, that's fine. Next row, including both shifts. Out, Amiga, space, Amiga, out. Left, right, up, down. Every single key, done. Every single key, working. Fantastic, I am so happy. Thank you so much, Vance. Haven't put the other one together because I've got to look for that bloody spring or chop up another pen. Bloody hell. But there we go. There we go. I am very, very happy. Original keycaps, fully working keyboard, and once again, I can do this. Oh yes. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks. Funny story. So the spring that we're missing, I found it was amongst one of the other springs. And then I started putting, so this is on the Mongol keyboard, so it doesn't really matter. And then I started putting the backing back on and I knocked the springs with the cable and I lost another one. I tell you, it's impossible. These keyboards are cursed. So I've got another pen spring in here, which is the control key, given that doesn't work anyway. Where's it gone? And the remarkable thing is, like, they just disappear. The other one was just, it was hugging one of the other springs, so two springs have become one. But I can't see. Oh, and now I'm knocking with my sleeve all my screws. I can't see it. Ah, stupid. So, okay, so this has got two, this is, where could it be? There's some cat fluff. There's some cat fluff. There's all sorts of things. There's probably some possum droppings somewhere. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows where these springs could be? And this is what happened last time. And we looked for days and days and days. And never to be found was the spring, the legend of the Amiga keyboard spring. Never again to be seen. Could have fallen in this bag. There was a bin last time that we emptied 3 times. I don't know where it is. 2 pen springs are in here. That's it.